Penny, can you think of anything that needs to get added?
Oh, wait, you wanted to do reorganization.
Yeah.
You had mentioned that to me.
Carol, we have to, one of the things to add to the agenda is discuss some reorganization.
Oh, okay.
Other than that, I make a motion we accept the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Frank, we're going to be continuing 23 Sunset, so we want to make sure that nobody's here for that.
And so Pat and I were just saying, if anybody's here tonight for either Sunset Road or Toll Brothers, that both of those are going to get continued.
Sunset's continued to August
Second.
2nd.
Yeah.
And Toll Brothers will be July 13th, a Thursday night, with the planning board and conservation.
And that's at the safety building.
Right. The August 2nd one is in here.
Okay. So we have three informals, 83 Gilson Road.
Mm-hmm.
Is anybody here for that?
Yes.
Good evening.
Hi, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Lyons?
How are you,
Mr.
Frank?
Lyons, how are you this
Good.
evening?
David Lyons and my wife Jean. We just purchased, we purchased a property at 83 Gilson. We did extensive interior renovations, and now we're thinking about landscaping. So we're within a 50-foot setback of the cliff, and we wanted to understand the procedures and stuff, and we're thinking about some plantings, some ground cover plantings. We hired a landscape architect. We have a drawing here,
Great.
and we're considering, groundwater control, rainwater from the gutters to a planting bed and so forth. So we just wonder, before we put it out for bid, we want to know the parameters of what we could possibly do.
Can we take a look at the
Sure,
plan, Dave?
sure. That's the house coming back. Here's the boundaries of the house right here.
And this is the edge of the,
This is the edge of the cliff here, yes.
what exists out there now?
Well, there's a couple of structures. There's a shed here, and there's another structure here. There's beech roses in the middle here. There was some sort of bench area, like small patio area here. That's just dirt right now, but that's what the previous owners did.
So these are steps down?
Those are steps down.
And this is a proposed patio?
Yes. Yeah, and we'd do a swale here and run the water off. The pitch is this way. It's not great. I don't have the grades on here, but it's pitched here, and we plan on pitching everything that way. And this way.
Okay.
With the crushed stone and the sand bed. We didn't.
Pat, you haven't had a chance to,
No, I heard about the plan, and we discussed it, and it sounded like there wasn't going to be any destabilization on the bank, and I said, well, bring it in informally and have the commission take a look at the plantings, and the roof drainage now is just running off onto the ground from the roof, or?
It is. We've put
Okay.
it down, so it's got a guys come tomorrow, actually.
Okay.
anyone?
Would we want them to have that go into, I can't think of the word, the downspouts go into,
Well, they're not building an addition or anything, so
No, if they want to do work, though, we don't want the water just running.
What we were planning on doing was a planting bed and going into a planting bed she put here. I think we were going to, almost like a well and plantings that did well in that environment.
Okay.
We're going to put it into the pool. The rest we were planning on running down here and just putting some stones for a walkway running towards the street.
Towards the street,
Yes.
not into the street.
No, not in the street, just
Down that way, down the hill.
Well, it's a
Yeah, no,
decent
I'm.
grade, so.
No, as long as they stay away from the actual bank.
So as far as plantings on the bank, though, we could,
On the bank? Or
well, no, not on the bank, on the grass, at the edge of the bank.
Yeah.
So I would think things that stabilize it.
Yeah, a stabilization type plants,
That's what we're planning on.
Yeah.
Yes.
not just because they're pretty. We
Right.
want something that's gonna put
Well,
their
the native
roots
beach
in.
roses
Yep.
are
Yes,
are probably right here, so
Yeah.
we wouldn't touch them at all.
Those, those are great at
Right.
Right.
holding everything together. Yeah.
Richard?
No, I think it's great. You know, do we need something formal? That's all I'm wondering.
Would it be an RDA, Pat?
I mean, I think if, in theory, you'd think it'd be all right, I think an RDA would do it.
Okay.
Paul?
Looks good to me.
Lisa?
I know.
Thoughts?
He's senior moments
So
there.
that, this area
I
that you
have
do
him there
the
every day.
patio, Dave, so that would be excavated some,
Yes,
put gravel,
gravel.
and then a base or whatever
Yes,
for the pavers.
yes, sand bed for the pavers, right.
As long as it's pavers, that's good.
Yeah, we'd much prefer to have something that's, water can penetrate to some
Yep,
degree.
yep, it would be permeable, right. Is that the existing?
So on a Google Earth?
Oh,
What'd you say? Yours are 9, 9:30, and 10.
that's, oh, yeah, that is, it's just a different angle, it's a funny angle. But that's what I was talking about out front.
I
where
gotcha.
There was something there, so that's a shed here, yeah, and there's another shed over there. So, yeah, there's a funny angle coming down at it.
It didn't look like a house, so.
There you go, that's a different angle. Right, so we did a lot of interior renovations, so we don't have too much money for this. We have enough to, enough to do it proper.
I think what they suggested, Dave, is filing, an RDA is a pretty abbreviated form. It's a request for determination of applicability. You can get it online, or Carol could help you with that, but it's just, it's, a notice of intent's a more involved filing that requires more information, but an RDA, your plan, simple description, it gets advertised in the newspaper.
Right.
But it's not a mailing out to neighbors or anything like that, because the work is pretty insignificant.
Yeah.
And then you have that information, the commission gets a copy of the plan that goes in the file. There's probably a file for this piece of property.
Yeah, there's a
anyways.
building that I would
Yeah,
file in.
yeah.
Yeah, it was all for the,
So I think just, and then just a little bit of information, maybe a little bit more on the, like the patio or something like that.
Sure.
But simple, but you do, what you're doing is perfect. I mean, it gets the water, we don't want the water going over the cliff.
Right.
You don't want it going over the cliff, because it's
No,
just gonna
nobody
degrade
does,
that.
right.
So by bringing it down here and catching it, and that's exactly what we'd be asking folks to do, so.
Okay.
And like I say, that filing is a pretty easy.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. Good luck with that.
yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah, so it shouldn't be, it's not a difficult thing, and
Yeah.
and that could happen within a couple of weeks, right? Depending on, I don't know how soon you were trying to get this done. but,
Yeah, reasonably so.
um,
Yeah.
But if you got that in, it has enough time for the
Okay.
notice to go out in the
Do
newspaper.
we come back here again for?
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you, good luck.
All right, thank you.
Indian Trail proposed addition. Anybody here from Indian Trail? Well, we can come back to that.
Okay.
Oceanside, repair riprap.
This is, I think this may be yours, it was described as repairing riprap. Oceanside Inn, and it's sand and cobble. And What?
Hello, everybody. I'm Joe Scanzolo.
Hey, Joe.
Hi, Frank. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Better.
Yeah, I heard you. But we knew you'd bounce back, Joe. You're a fighter.
It's got to be all the garlic.
So just kind of give us an explanation of what you're,
Yep.
We're on Oceanside to start, are you talking?
I'm sorry.
the address?
The address on Oceanside?
Well, the address is the beach. To the left side, if you're looking at the Oceanside Inn on Oceanside Avenue.
Okay,
And there's an opening in the seawall there.
yes.
And we have a bride who is a Scituate resident. She grew up in Scituate. She's been a long-time resident. She owns property on Kenneth Road. And she would normally have gotten married on the beach at the end of her street, but there's a lot of construction going on, and it's currently barricaded off. So what she's proposing is to move down the road a little bit and access the beach from the break in the seawall to the left side of the Oceanside Inn. That's easier said than done for people who are not really fit in rock climbers. It's not necessarily riprap, it's more like revetment stone, which are in some cases a foot or two in elevation difference in height, and the voids between the stone can be a foot or a foot and a half. So there'd be quite a challenge for people who are not super fit to jump from stone to stone. Lisa suggested they perhaps bring some sneakers and some things like that. And I'm sure a lot of folks will, but this is a little bit different problem than that. So what I suggested is that seeing as the town in many years past has put tens of thousands of yards of sand on the beach in years past, maybe a couple of yards of sand between the stone to fill between the stones so that we could fill the voids. I'm talking about maybe 2 yards of sand, washed sand, so that people can have footing between the stone and just until high tide, which will probably wash it out. And that's about as simple as it gets, basically. The bride was going to get a temporary set of stairs for people to walk down and put it down there 10 minutes before the wedding and take it away 10 minutes after the wedding. So that's really more, a temporary thing.
Sure.
And that's the extent of the request, just basically so people can get from the concrete stairs, which are existing now, over the rock and to the beach. And the
Would a
distance.
mat do the same trick? A beach mat?
I think it would be, if it's real rocky, it's hard to level that out. I can
Yeah.
tell you,
See, I'm not-
some friends of mine, their daughter got married in mine
Yeah,
by the post office.
yeah.
And it was so rocky, when you're the contractor, you get the request.
Yeah.
And so we brought about 20 sheets of plywood.
Yeah.
And it was mostly the round rock, and it was relatively smooth. We brought a bunch of plywood and made a walkway so that people could get out, and they had benches
Yeah.
on the beach and set them up and had the wedding, and then everything got reeled in. So,
This is going to be more rustic than that.
Yeah.
The difference in elevation from top of stone to top of stone can vary by a foot or a foot and a half.
sure.
And I went and looked at it again today and even thought about building a ramp, but a temporary ramp,
Yeah.
But I think the sand eye there, even though it would be a real pain in the neck for me to do, I'd have to do it after the high tide, just before the wedding, and I'd have to have a lot of people down there shoveling sand for a very short period. And
I'd say the more sand you want to put on the beach, the better.
I agree, but, this is,
Sure.
I'm only looking for just this one
Right.
stretch.
I personally don't have a problem. I don't know how the town feels about
Which
it.
was my concern when I had asked if it was a private beach in front of somebody's home versus the fact that it's the public beach in the town. Wouldn't they have to get permission from the town to be able to add any material? Or anybody can just add material?
Well, they are asking us for permission to use a specific type of sand, not just garbage.
But I thought we had
Yeah,
to
no,
consult the
I
town.
understand what you're saying.
We are the
That's
town.
my concern. I don't, because I personally have absolutely no
We're
problem
them.
with you're doing it.
Yeah.
And I do think it will be washed away in the next few tides.
Penny, the high water mark, the high tide mark, given a 9 or 10-foot tide, is above those rocks.
Yeah.
So there's little doubt in my mind that that sand is not going to be there more than a tide.
Yeah. I mean, if we have the authority to say something like that's okay, then I'm okay.
Well, I might be wrong, but I've always been under the impression that public beach extends to the high water mark, to the high tide mark. So wherever the high tide, even if you have a private home here and you claim you have a private beach here, I think the way the law is written is that, and there isn't a private home there incidentally,
Yeah.
but I'm just using it as an example. I think the public domain has the right to use the water, use the beach up to the highest of the high tide mark.
So I think if we were having a hearing, if this were an application and a hearing, the owner of the property would have to be part of that filing. But we're not doing a filing. The question is there an issue with putting, do we, at the Conservation Commission, have an issue with a relatively small amount of sand being placed in this area? And-
Yeah, I think the issue would be is if it is town-owned property right where it's going to go, the Board of Selectmen would have to approve something being added to the beach there. You know, you would have to get somebody to say, it's our land, but we'll let you do this because it's not a big...
I think that for a question of our commission, and I could, Lisa, Paul, would you need to chime in, if they've got any issues with that amount of sand being dumped there?
No.
No, none at all. And I wouldn't worry about what if somebody else has a problem, they can feel free to voice it. But like Frank said, he's here in front of this commission.
Asking about the sand. We have some jurisdiction over the beach, but we're not obviously the only person that has that. I mean, obviously, where the issues have just gone on with the 4th of July, we're not the ones down there patrolling the beach. So there's lots of jurisdiction on there. But I think I can say from what I've heard here, nobody here has got an issue with putting a few yards of sand and being careful about where you place it. Should you be asking anybody else? That's, again, we don't, it's funny, there's different, towns have different jurisdictions over the beach, who owns them, who does what, and I don't see it as being an issue, and
If somebody has an issue, this will be televised after tonight, so I'm sure we'll hear.
you know, worst case scenario, you have to go vacuum it all up afterwards.
Yeah. No, and the only place the sand would go would be at that location, between the rock, predominantly between the rocks. And, we have a rock that's this high and a rock that's this high. We might put a little sand over the top of one to help even them off a little bit.
I mean, I think we have to be somewhat careful. Say the next person that came in said, geez, we want to build a walkway over the top of it, and you say, well, you really can't leave a structure or anything like that, but to smooth out an area, I'm assuming other people use that to get to the beach as well.
More fit people than 50 and 60 and 70-year-olds, I'm sure.
Yeah, does Oceanside actually own that access way to this wall?
I don't believe so. I believe that's a public access wall. I mean, they wouldn't have built it and put it there if it was on private property.
And I wonder if the town maintains the stairs on the inland side of the wall then, or?
Honestly, Pat, it looks to me like since the day they were built, they haven't been maintained at all.
Yeah, the town must own them.
I'll tell you.
That's what I would have said. That's exactly what I would have said.
There you go. All right, so I guess,
Sorry. That's not true. They're doing a lot of maintenance work. A lot of,
I mean, it's all solid concrete.
yeah.
Well, somebody, if there's an issue, you will hear or will hear.
Well, this is an informal request.
Yeah.
Nobody here has an issue.
Okay,
So
How you take
informally,
it from there, that's your business.
okay.
I will send an email to the Board of Selectmen just in case that
well,
this
if
could
you feel
cause...
you need to, okay.
If they, they are the caretakers of the town-owned land, so if something's going to be happening on it, they need to know, so.
Okay.
they may not
If
have
you
a
were in asking
concern.
if you could take stone away, I know that would have
No,
some.
we'd
We'd have some issues.
I haven't met any of my customers who want me to take stone away. They all want me to bring rock to the beach.
Well, we know that.
Well, if you'd like to donate like 200 truckloads of it.
Careful what you ask for.
I'm laughing talking about a few yards. Isn't the
Yeah,
town
right.
trying to get replenishment material?
I think I've already done
Joe
that.
did that. These guys have short memories.
I do, Okay, great, well,
All right.
thank you.
Well, good luck with you,
All right,
and good luck to your friends.
thank you, thanks very much. Should be very pleased.
Bye.
And a lot of people will be a little safer.
RDA's, DPW Engineering, 98 Tack Factory Pond Drive, Maine, from well 17A to Tack Factory Pond. So where are we?
Hello, Dan.
On July 5th, 2017, during our 6:15 meeting, the Town Hall of Situate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Town of Situate DPW Engineering for determination of applicability to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Situate Wetlands Bylaw to construct an emergency transmission main from well 17A to Tack Factory Pond located at 98 Tack Factory Pond Drive, Scituate. Butters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Good evening.
Ian Smith, the Engineering Division. I put this plan together. It's a water department project, and this plan was just compiled. There was no survey done. It's compiled from Google Earth images, Mass GIS, assessor plans, and it's a very large lot, as shown by the dark line goes out and around the perimeter. That's hundreds of acres, and it's southward the old Ford Road subdivision, and north of the Factory Pond subdivision, and east of Route 3. And it centers around one of the town's wells, 17A, which is over here on the left. And what the project, in a nutshell, it involves running a transmission main that will allow us to take the water from well 17A over to Tack Factory Pond. That's it in a nutshell. And we were advised by Pat to start out with an RDA because I think this basically rises to the level of an NOI because as you can see, there's basically no abutters within hundreds of feet. It's all on this huge lot owned by the town. This plan shows everybody all the way around, it covers a lot of the same things that we do for NOI, and the site is obviously all within a wetland. So it makes no sense to flag the wetlands, it would be a huge expense. We already know it's wetlands, it's the town's watershed. And, so I think the RDA was the right approach. Primarily because we need to move forward very quickly with this. This project is going to give the water department much greater flexibility and we've had a more stable water supply. And we'll get into that, but I think the thing I want to stress here is if we were held to the letter of the law, it would take years to permit this. But what we're trying to do is be better prepared for a drought. And, what happened last year clearly shows there's a flaw in our water supply. And, we got through it last year with, it was tight and it took everybody's attention, just being prepared. Because it may have been a problem if there was a fire or even just providing drinking water to the residents. Our levels would get it down pretty low, and we got by, but it was pretty scary. And we need to get this approved, and we've been in touch with the DEP, and the regulations clearly state, that a project like this can move forward with more relaxed standards under limited project status. And I think I've outlined that in the narrative, and we can go through it. But it basically says, you can do this, it's for the public, it's a project that's gonna benefit the public in public safety. This is our drinking water supply. It nearly failed us last year. And this is a patch. It's a short-term approach that's going to, like I say, give us better flexibility and a more stable supply until we can implement permanent solutions. It's kind of a complex problem. And I think, to understand what's going on here, you need to back up and see. The town has 5 wells. 17A is one of the top 3 producing wells, and together with 18, which is right around the corner, and 19, they're all right in the same vicinity. They form the groundwater supply. And then to the east of here, at the beginning, centered around First Terry Brook, is our surface water supply, and it starts out with Tack Factory Pond, which overflows into the reservoir, which is a man-made impoundment. There's a good-sized dam that I don't think a lot of people even know it exists, because you can't see it from anywhere, and it's only accessible through people's easements on people's lawns by a little bucket. And anyhow, the way the surface water supply works is the First Terry Brook and all the tributaries upstream and down through into Tack Factory Pond, into the reservoir, and then into Old Oaken Bucket Pond. And our water filtration plant draws out of Old Oaken Bucket Pond. And anything that spills out of Old Oaken Bucket Pond is lost in the system and ends up in the ocean. So the problem here is, well, 17A, the water from it it doesn't meet drinking water standards. It's high in iron and manganese, and it's like tea colored. It's a very, very high color. So about, 15 years ago, some engineers were brought on board, and it was decided not to abandon it because it is the second highest producing well. And what they did is they built a transmission main through Tack Factory Pond subdivision around the horn, up Old Oaken Bucket Road, Hornet Stetson, and they dump it. It discharges into the Old Oaken Bucket Pond right at the filtration plant. And for some reason that seemed like a good idea at the time, but the problem is, yeah, the water is available for the plant. We can treat the water and use it from 17A, and the plant is capable of removing the iron, the manganese, and the color. But the problem is, like I say, any water that gets in there that isn't filtered is lost. And Old Oaken Bucket Pond has very limited storage capacity. So as we saw last year, even though we were doing this during the drought, it wasn't working, because of the limited capacity. We were sucking the water out of there as fast as it was coming in. And what we're proposing here is we want to get the water from 17A into the head of the reservoir system, which has a much higher capacity to store the water. And then the reservoir is actually used to throttle and hold back as much water as we can, and it's released as needed on it, like metered almost. So there is some spillage as required for the fish in the spawning season, but primarily it's throttled so that it meets the demand of the filtration plant. So it all works together as a system, and it would make a lot more sense if we could get this constructed very quickly under a limited project, so that we could keep 17A running all the time, which it would need to keep the reservoir full, and have all that emergency storage, rather than letting the reservoir go empty like we saw last year. It was, we were seeing levels that we haven't seen in a while. This plan it's critical. We need to implement it as quickly as possible. The DEP regulations allow for this type of project with relaxed standards, because it's an emergency fix, and like I say, I think one of the requirements is that you have looked at alternatives, and I think I outlined those here. The first one is the one that's in place right now. We're pumping in an existing transmission line around the horn to Old Oaken Bucket, which, like I say, it doesn't help keep our reservoirs full where all the storage volume is. So as we saw last year, it didn't work. It just doesn't take full advantage of our reservoir system upstream of the plant. That's an option that we're actually running right now. Like I say, we opted not to abandon 17A. It had bad water, had high color, iron and manganese, but we're keeping it online to feed the plant. But as it turns out, this wasn't the best option. So that one's really not, it's in place, but it doesn't work. Now, alternative 2 is more the long-term plan that I spoke of. This, like I said, this is just a patch. It's going to help us get by. And the long-term plan is to construct its own treatment plant at the well. It's called the green sand filter, and it will remove the color, the iron and manganese. And then that will allow us to pump it directly into the water mains. It would be safe to drink at that point.
So it wouldn't have to go through the water treatment plant? Is that what you're saying?
That's correct. It would be
Okay.
treated on site.
Mhm.
And currently, we have engineers, we've hired engineers. They're running pilot studies right now to make sure that it will work. But this is a very expensive project. It's going to be several $1 million, and we're not sure exactly when we'll have the money. So in the meantime, we need this temporary fix. But the long-term plan for the supply is the groundwater supply. You have to realize this town's unusual that it does have both groundwater and surface water. Most towns don't. But it actually worked out well because we made it work. But the long-term plan is to actually construct a permanent transmission main that will link this well with the other 2 wells nearby. And well 19, which is the biggest one in this aquifer, which is just across the street from Town Hall. All the water would then come through that one well, which also has a treatment system in it for pH and corrosion. And it would take all the well water from the 3 highest producing wells and put it right into basically the backbone of the distribution system. There's a big 12-inch in Route 3 that feeds the 2 tanks and all the distribution system at a pretty central location, which is hydraulically ideal, So that's the plan. But like I say, to try to be better prepared for the next drought, which may happen before we get this treatment plant constructed, we'd like to try to have a means to convey the water into the biggest portion of the reservoir system, and where it will allow us to store it to be treated at the filtration plant. The filtration plant has plenty of capacity. We just didn't have enough water. The plant has 3 million gallons per day of capacity, and I think it's only putting out about 1, and, because that's all the water we can get to it, and with the limitations on the aquifer and feeding it. So anyway, I think that's it in a nutshell. And like I say, I don't know, I know the DEP would maybe rather see a more detailed application, but in this case, given its remote location, no one's even going to see this job going on. The abutters are all pretty far from the property line, and from the property line to the proposed main. So I could say the third alternative would be to construct this to help us improve the flexibility of the system and hope, get us through another drought if it happens in the near future. Like I say, there's no question there's wetlands on the site. And I spent an afternoon out there. I walked the entire place, and the purpose of it was to find the path of least resistance. I started on a few different routes, and backed up, and what you see is the end result of my afternoon walking around out there. And appears to be that some of that, at least, is on an upland island out there. It's still definitely buffer. I mean, I'm no wetland scientist, but I think I picked the best route. Pat and I went out one afternoon and walked it with me. I flagged the final route, and I think Pat was satisfied that we did pick the path of least resistance. I tried to stay on the upland islands, and the work would be conditioned so that when we're done, it wouldn't be obvious, it wouldn't be a straight cleared easement. We would try to save as much as vegetation and trees. The route itself that's shown is plus or minus 20 feet. I think I put on the plan. It's like, we're gonna use small equipment and leave as narrow a swath as we can and get out of there and let it just return to normal and help us be better prepared for the next drought.
Dan, can you show where it crosses the wetlands? It's a little hard to see. It looks like there's two areas where it crosses the bordering vegetated wetland. You get,
Well, like I say, the BVW was from the Mass GIS.
Right.
I just overlaid their stuff onto Google Earth. I've showed the floodplain, the riparian, and like I say, some of this stuff, we may end up field adjusting.
yeah. There's like a stretch, it's BBW, and then there's another spot.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, the BVW, everything on here is really clumsy, and it's like, it might look really weird, but that's how it would look if you actually surveyed it. You can see where it follows those lines that are shown. Sadly, there's so much on here, it's hard to see clearly, but there are, like right in here, where we're crossing through BVW, and there may be some wetland in this area. But like I say, we're taking the path of least resistance that we could find, and even that would be subject to change in the field, depending on even if there's a particular tree in the way or a bush we could avoid. I think the intent would be to go serpentine as much as possible, so that when you stand in there, you don't ever see like a long line that's cleared, because the intent is not to have it like that other easement that we came to you guys last year to clear it. That's the one that runs from, well, 22 to 19. That's a cleared easement.
Sure.
And we needed to clear it. But this one, we would never go back and maintain it like that. The intent would be to, the long-term goal is to build the plant and construct the permanent transmission.
So my question is, first off, you're gonna go the path of least resistance. Will it be underground or laying on top of the ground, this pipe?
No, it would be buried.
All right,
Yeah.
how far down?
About 4 feet.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you gotta...
Penny, down in the corner of the drawing, he's got a little
There's a little sketch.
inset of what the
Yes.
trenching will look like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and there's some things in there that we've
And then you
added.
put everything back over?
We would try to even put the soils back in the same order that they came out.
The 4 feet wide,
4 feet, yeah,
the trench?
the trench itself.
Yeah, but it goes side to side, 4 feet. too.
Right.
4 feet wide, 4 feet
4 feet
tall.
wide, 4 feet
Okay.
deep.
And depending on how, we can condition this to if the contractor starts from the furthest end and works back, I think we can keep the swath a little bit narrower, basically construct it as he's backing out.
Yeah.
Then he's basically feeding stuff up inside the one line instead of having like a 15-foot wide where he's got
Well, I'm just trying to think of Mother Nature growing back in this area and covering everything up.
Yeah, I mean, the intent would be for this to just disappear.
Yeah.
Richard?
No, nothing right now.
Paul?
You know, like you said, you pointed out the public benefit and the safety benefits. I think if you can keep the pond from going way down there, an ancillary benefit is wildlife. there's environmental benefits to it as well.
Lisa?
I have no questions, and I agree. It sounds like the faster you do
Have
this, the
you
better
walked it,
off we'll all be.
I know I will. But I
Oh,
haven't.
because I know you were questioning
Yeah.
Kevin one day about it when he first.
We talked about it.
Yeah,
and it
exactly.
Talked about, this has been going back and forth. Dan said there was an earlier thought as to how to do this, so
Mhm.
this is the next round.
Yeah.
Pat, do you want to?
Yeah, I think there's no question about the water supply need, and I think both sides of DEP met with DPW and said, oh yeah, you have to get this done, but for us, it's really a permitting issue and how we go about it, and Dan and Kevin spent a lot of time talking to DEP, trying to get that answer, trying to pin them down. Do we need a notice of intent, because there is some permanent alteration of wetlands where the stone swale is out there. It's going to be an area that hits the rock, so that'd probably have to be replicated. And they said, well, try to make it as easy as you can and follow the route of least resistance. But there's also the head of DEP that mentioned if it's altering a wetland, you may need to file. So they left it kind of vague. And, I mean, I think it's
So
a
have you been
project.
part of that low?
Yeah, with Dan and with Kevin, and I think, the project will get approved at some time. What paperwork is required to get it done? Does it need to be a notice of intent kind of thing? So I don't know if DEP says.
Will DEP come back on that?
We've been waiting. The people from the water side said we do this all the time, and they met with the wetland people, and they said, well, something has to be filed, so we started with an RDA. If he says an RDA is good, then I think you could vote on it. If he says there's going to be alteration, we're going to have to do replication, then that might change it.
But I say we vote on it and let them take action.
Right.
Instead of them telling us what we can do.
Yeah.
If they have a
They've
problem.
made every effort to get an answer.
Right, yeah, but we move forward.
But I'm just
Yeah.
thinking about, we've got this other filing before us to expand the size of the reservoir, and it's a pretty
Yeah.
detailed filing. It takes a lot of effort to understand this, so you've got a fair amount of disturbance. I mean, I get the urgency. We've had the drought. This is an alternative, to help back up. It was explained to us before. Right now, this well currently pumps all the way down Old Oak and Bucket and goes directly into the Greenbush Pond.
Right.
And, the idea, saying it's bad water, and maybe you want to clarify that, it's bad from the sense that it has too much iron and manganese.
It doesn't meet
It's
Safe
not,
Drinking Water
it's
Act.
not, yeah, but it's not polluted water or anything. It's
No.
just,
No.
it's-
No.
But I think for clarification,
As
it's
is-
water that just doesn't meet these standards. And by pumping it into a greater area, like a pond, then diluted with that other water, it works fine.
Correct.
So.
It makes
so-
sense, you're right, in that respect as well, it
Right.
makes sense. yeah.
So taking that water and getting it up here and bringing it into Tac Factory, we have more storage capacity, so that water would technically last longer.
Yeah.
And to Paul's point, keep a pond up that was critically low. So, but just a couple of, maybe it's real simple answer, Dan. I mean, that well looks like it's within 30 or 40 feet of the brook.
It's pretty close, in
Yeah.
the springtime, yeah, the
Is there a
standing water.
Is there a reason to not just pump out the back of that and avoid all this trenching?
Yeah, well, yes, in a drought situation where we'd rely on this the most, which we saw, the riverbed dries up. And
And you don't think by pumping that water, you think you'll lose too much water?
we would lose too much to evaporation and then into the ground, and that would also, you would lose that water. It's, like I say, pretty uneven and hummocky back there, and you would need to pump for days. Given if it was dried out like it was, you would need to pump for days before it would even reach Tac Factory Pond, because now you're saturating the ground, you're losing the evaporation water, and we actually thought, some of our initial thoughts were to just stub it out the back, but then we thought about it, it's like, no, we really need to push it down to the pond as close as we can.
What's the distance?
1,750.
It's a long,
It's a long ways.
distance and a lot
It
of
is.
disturbance.
Yeah, no,
It's a
I know,
quarter
that's
mile.
why I asked.
And you just
that.
look at it and say, geez, this could be in the brook in 50
Yeah.
feet.
I
Yeah.
know, Yeah,
And would it really have a significant,
Yeah,
Difference.
I think that it would. That's our conclusion. You
and,
just lose way too much, given the ground out there, the way that it basically pools and ponds all the way from the well.
right,
It's not like a nice brook. It's, it's very wide, and, it's weird to think how it ever got like that, but you would lose a lot of water back into the ground that
Right.
you'd never get back.
so then, the outfall that you have shown here with riprap, it doesn't really make it to the brook.
We'd bring it to the brook if you let us.
Well, my
Right
concern
to
would
the
be
pond,
if you're
but-
pumping that much water in an 8-inch pipe and it goes into this outfall, are we just gonna wind up degrading that area between between what you have as a spillway and the brook? And I don't know what the regulation would be on that, but do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, their argument is it's a temporary disturbance to cut the ground and lay the pipe, but then this is going to be a permanent area with a
Right.
stone, and so there is some disturbance. But even after, you're talking about some runoff issues.
So you've got an area, an 8-inch pipe, I don't know what they're
Oh, yeah.
thinking gallons per minute.
250 gallons a minute.
So,
Yeah.
so that much water flowing out of that all the time
Mhm.
is gonna wind up degrading that area between that spillway.
Mhm.
From that point to the pond, there's not any, it's just brush, really. There's not a lot there. It's already, I think that's pretty wet. It's already it's almost the pond, basically.
Okay. I guess the other thing that just is a concern, and I keep saying it to them, I know you have wells and you wanna keep using the wells, but part of the reason that this brook is drying up is the amount of water that we're pumping from this watershed. And this is the watershed to the Herringbrook Pond. And most of our wells, I think with the exception of the well that's off of Corner Stetson Road across from the nurseries, are all in this watershed. So essentially, we're pumping this down before that water ever makes it to the pond.
I don't know how much connectivity there is. I mean, there's a good layer of, I just know this because we just redid well 22.
Yeah,
There's I forget how many feet of hard pan that you have to drill through before you.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how deep is this well? Do you have any idea, roughly?
I believe it's around 90 feet, 80, 90 feet.
it's still shallow wells.
Yeah, no, that's a shallow well.
Yeah, that's why
It's not a 900
I hear
foot
what
well.
you're saying, Frank, but I don't know if there's all as much connectivity as you would think, because
Well, we asked that question when we talk about private wells, and the answer is always that it's one big source and it shouldn't be.
yeah, well, I'm not a
Different
hydraulic
answers for
expert, but I'm
different
just
things.
wondering,
Right.
myself, after seeing the trouble the drillers had getting through that confining layer,
Right.
that's, once they get through it, they're into the gravel, and that's where the well is drawn from, down 80, 90 feet. If we stop pumping, would the brook stay full? I don't think so.
Well, I mean, it certainly would, it's gonna have some impact. And I'm not a hydrologist, and I'm no expert in this field.
Right.
And I just, as we try to maintain, this is a town good, and obviously if we need water, we do what means we need to get to that point. And certainly, if this is the right thing to do for this now, it would be nice to get some guidance from people at the state, the people that, as you pointed out, Pat, and we've had discussion before, the folks that you deal with for water resource say, yeah, this isn't a bad idea. Get your water into that, and that's certainly gonna help.
Well,
these ponds.
this option was actually considered before they constructed the one that's in place now.
Sure.
And I don't know, I just don't understand it, why they went with that one. It could have been just permitting. The engineer could have said, it'll take you years to permit going through the wet.
Well, if that's the case, then are we jumping over something that we should be considering?
Yeah, well, in hindsight now we're stuck with a system that doesn't work very well. And you know, we need
Well,
to do
I
something.
get it. You know, I get the fact that when we really need water, we're actually losing water because during off-peak times, you're putting more water into the pond and then for it spilling over.
Then we lose it, right.
Yeah.
Going out.
I know it's hard to get answers,
Right.
and nobody seems to want to,
Right, if it was an emergency declaration and it was spelled out what you could do under an emergency, like you can bypass a notice of intent, all that, they wouldn't send us anything that said that, so it's kind of, you know, they don't have written rules on this. If you voted for a negative and we had a condition that you had to replicate, does that mean it should have been a positive with a notice of intent? So, yeah, it's a tricky one. These guys have asked the questions, and they've...
Well, I've kind of built replication into that detail, basically. I mean, we're asking that it be returned as best they can the way it was, including pushing whatever trees back and then planting with the wetland seed mix.
I mean, I can just tell you, if this was a private proposal to pump water for a golf course or some other things.
Right.
This would never go.
Right.
Well, it might go, but it would certainly have a lot more scrutiny, a lot more filing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why, I mean, we're filing under a limited project. We're asking that it be looked at with under the less stringent guidelines, because it is for the public benefit, and we could end up in trouble again if we
Sure.
can't get it done.
No, and your point is a good point. No matter how many filings you do and ORADs, and it's a wetland.
Right, exactly, that's my point.
We know that right now.
And it's such a large lot that the abutters aren't impacted.
Right.
The project itself is very far from the nearest abutter. So filing a NOI, what more would it do for you other than delay it more? It'd be a huge cost. Now we're looking at, well, we need a real survey. We'd have to get it surveyed.
Well,
Wetland flags.
if this was an NOI, and this was a different type of application for the size of this, you'd be applying for this, we'd be hiring a consultant.
Mhm,
Our
exactly.
consultant would review this work and then tell us whether they had other issues outside of what we're discussing right now. So
Yeah.
in some ways, that would be a positive thing to know that it was reviewed by somebody else. Again,
Yeah.
we understand it. I just feel more comfortable if we got some feedback from DEP and said, no, this is standard procedure for this type of
Well,
project.
but if we give it a negative, doesn't DEP still have the option to say,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
take it
Yeah,
down?
absolutely.
Well, that's
I'm
what
still
it-
waiting for the DEP to do something about the seawall that they called us about in the middle of the river, because
No,
they're so hot on
I
everything.
understand, yeah. But I'm just,
It's only been 4 years.
I don't think we're gonna get a definitive answer
Yeah.
Yeah,
unless we make a move and throw it like, I hate to
Right.
say it, but throw it at them. This is what we say, so are you gonna challenge us?
Right.
And that's fine if they challenge
can.
us.
Yeah, and Dan brought up limited project, and most of the ones we see involves a driveway to get to an upland to work on something.
No,
This is limited in that it's underground and it's hard. We haven't had one of these before.
Yeah.
Maybe DEP doesn't have enough of them where they've written rules on it.
Yeah.
But, so I mean, the choices are positive, and then you file or continue and we push for more answers, or negative and they appeal it. I think those are the three.
From all of our discussions with them have been positive, particularly during the emergency drought conditions.
Right.
I know that they've been positive, and it's hard to get something in writing, though. Everything, you know, a phone call's one thing, but put it in writing, that's another thing.
Right.
We get lots of opinions from there, but we don't see a lot of action.
Exactly, it's frustrating. It is frustrating.
Okay.
Yeah, would people like to see, have me email out to you the limited project language and the DEP regulations, and then we could look at that and contact DEP?
I think that would be helpful. Is there anybody in the audience that wanted to speak to this? Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I was,
And your name and address.
Judy Aronson. I grew up right next to Tack Factory Pond. Have you ever gone in the pond and followed it all the way back in that way? Or have you just looked at images?
Oh, I was out there. I was out there for
You
hours.
walked
Oh, yeah, I was out there.
Yeah, but I'm saying if you got in the pond in a canoe or whatever and followed Tack Factory all the way back to where the brook actually stops,
I didn't go in the water, no.
no. Because that would give you a better idea, like if this water is, it's gonna go right into the brook, where the brook stops.
Close to it,
Well,
yeah.
one of the brooks,
Close to where,
yeah.
it's close to where the river hooks in, yeah. That was the intent.
All I know is there's a huge rock there. That was always like the end part.
Maybe you should have had Judy out there with you.
Yeah, I
to
would have
saw-
showed you. But that's where it's all gonna start to run.
Right, that's where we were trying to get it to, so we don't lose a lot into the ground and to evaporation. Just trying to maximize the benefit of the well, despite it having high levels of iron in it. So we're trying to keep the well in use.
Okay. Well, at the risk of delaying this a little bit.
I was going to make a suggestion, and that is that we continue this for 2 weeks. Let Pat do his thing and get us the information on the regulations, and if we don't hear anything by DEP, but I like Paul's idea. But at least it gives a chance for DEP to respond, as unlikely as that might be.
Is that sensible? In the meantime, if you can get us any information that you can,
Yeah.
we'll go from there.
Okay.
We don't want to delay it a lot, but I don't think 2
I
weeks.
hated that word.
Yeah,
I
like Penny's proposal
I feel
better.
as though they have asked over and over.
And what would be the
How
difference?
many,
Yeah.
why would we get a different answer?
Right, they've asked the water people, but we're the permitting people for the wetlands, and we don't have as clear an answer as...
But they also don't have a vote on this commission. And they were holding the whole commission up, and they don't have a vote.
Well, I guess that would be the alternative, is that we issue a negative determination and send the email and say, we've done this. If you guys have reservations,
Yeah.
speak now.
I
Or
think that's a
know.
great idea, because they can always undo it. Why don't we
Right.
take that positive
Yeah.
step and do the negative 3?
Yeah, given what we've already done, I think that makes more sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no problem if they say.
Yeah, it's reversible. So-
Right, they're
you know,
free to
no,
take any
but
action
why-
they want.
You know, you haven't, this could force to get a real answer.
Yes.
Where if, I believe Dan, he has asked over and over.
you don't want to wait as long as it took to do the dam in North Situate?
Oh, please, no. 6 years?
All right. All right, well, I'll take a motion.
Okay, I make a motion for a negative 3.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And we'll move from there, we'll find out.
Excellent. No, thank you.
Now,
The thought was, Dan, if you just kept talking about it for another 20 minutes, we were going to just vote it anyway. Thanks for putting this together. I
Yeah.
appreciate all your hard work. I know this is a big concern for you guys, as it should be, so.
Yes, yeah. We've been focusing on distribution, and I don't know.
well, and I do know that,
But, yeah, we need to focus on putting some water in the pipes.
Right. Just not that brown water.
No, none of that. The treatment plant does a great job of treating this.
Right.
And the green sand is even, just as good.
Okay.
Just,
We trust that you're keeping it clean.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Just I wanted to restate something we said earlier. The hearings for 23 Sunset Road
yeah,
and Toll Brothers are going to be continued
both.
till,
Well, actually, we can do them now.
yeah, we will.
Okay, I make a motion to continue 23 Sunset to August, it's August 2nd, not
August 2nd,
3rd.
yes.
August 2nd at 6:40.
Second.
You have to keep going.
Second.
Oh,
yeah.
I can't second them. Somebody else
Second.
is. All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry.
And that's in this room. here.
And
Yeah.
I make a motion to continue the Toll Brothers until July 13th.
Correct.
Joint meeting with
The
planning
public
board,
safety.
Public
safety
After
building.
public safety was.
7 PM.
If anybody was here for Toll Brothers, to just explain that there was no other information that was submitted between our last meeting. And so therefore, they're still gathering information, they're putting information together, and the next meeting is a joint meeting with the planning
Next
board.
week.
Next week, Thursday night, and it will be at the safety building. I mean, apologies for you guys coming out for that. It was sort of a last-minute decision between the holidays and whatnot, but 4th of July.
So we need a vote on this. Thank you.
All right.
So I'll second a motion.
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock at that new house.
Yeah.
So we have a motion?
Yeah,
Second.
and a
Second.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Thank you.
Pardon me?
Think about your free time tonight now. Columbia Gas, Egypt Beach Road, Egypt Ave, Bay State Gas Main Replacement. Good evening.
Good evening. Chris Anderson with Merrill Engineers and Land Surveyors.
Let me just read this announcement.
Yep.
On July 5th, 2017, during a 6:15 meeting at the Town Hall, the Situate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Columbia Gas and Mass for a determination of applicability of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands bylaws to replace a gas main located on Egypt Beach Road, Egypt Ave, and Bay Street, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend.
Hi, again, Chris Anderson, Merrill Engineers and Land Surveyors. I am here on behalf of Columbia Gas. They are proposing to replace gas mains on Egypt Beach Road, Egypt Ave, and Bay Street in Scituate. I believe it's approximately about 1,000 linear feet of main that they're looking to replace. Currently out there, there is an 1.5 inch steel gas main installed in, I believe, 1929, so it's very outdated. Some initial due diligence indicated that there were resource areas along portions of where this work will be occurring. So we did have a wetland scientist delineate the resource areas, which, if you have the application packets, you can see on the wetland delineation overlay plans where those resource areas are located in relation to where the main will be installed. Pretty typical utility installation. They'll be using the open trench method, which is basically a 2 to 3 foot wide trench, about 4 feet deep, using a backhoe, and they'll remove some of the material, bring that off-site directly, fill it with some clean sand, and button it right back up. So basically, they'll only be doing the amount of work that they can do in a single day. So there will be, no open trenches left and no stockpiled material within any of the buffer zones. Prior to any of the construction, erosion controls will be installed down gradient to any resource areas. If there's catch basins in the areas, sediment traps will be installed. This will all be inspected and maintained throughout the process. They typically do between 80 and 300 feet of installation in a day, dependent on conditions. So if you do the math, it's probably a few weeks worth of work, including tying over the services as well. And Columbia Gas has a pretty good track record and best management practices in place for work like this. So yeah, really pretty straightforward. You can refer to the figures in the back. We show proposed locations for erosion control, which you guys may want to come out and inspect prior to the construction.
There'll be a pre-construction meeting, I'd imagine.
And other than that, pretty straightforward. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I do.
Yep.
Why can't you use the same fill? Why do you have to remove it? Where's it go?
They dispose of it.
Why?
They want clean sand around the bed of the actual main itself. So, they may be pulling material out of the roadway, and it's just not adequate to surround the pipe and keep the infrastructure, in its
They have
best.
specifications, like septic
best
system
shape.
pipes,
Yeah.
what kind
Well, I
of soil.
was just surprised, because...
Probably tighter when it's wrapped.
And then if road wasn't built, I mean, a lot of these roads weren't built to any real standard.
Okay.
So some of the material they're digging up
Might be
isn't
crap.
that great.
Yeah, you can find
We don't say
asphalt
that on
chunks
TV.
and,
Okay, that's all, I used to cry.
But,
Excuse me?
okay.
and this main, I believe it's a 2-inch high-density polyethylene, so it's pretty small, not servicing that many residents, as you can see. So really a pretty straightforward, easy project in terms of everything.
No, I'm fine.
Well,
No questions.
Lisa? Patrick?
Just on Section 4, you had listed some of the things that you will and won't be doing, and the catch basins are going to be protected with the filter fabric, and
Yep.
no soil will be stockpiled overnight within the buffer zones during these things.
Yep,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah, and we'll probably just add these as conditions to the DOA. No work during the rain to
Yep.
minimize.
Yep.
And we wouldn't be
This is an
confirming.
RDA, so this is just gonna be something that's in the IDA.
Yeah, we'd throw it in there.
Yeah.
And then we're not confirming the wetland flagging on this. You know, you guys have flagged it, we're not going to confirm it so that
Yep.
these little lines are in place.
Yeah, all this work's going to be right within the right-of-way, so it'll be completely restored to its original condition. If they happen to need to put it in the shoulder, the landscaping will be restored to its original condition as well.
However, it does indicate that everything is in the paved right away.
Or in the right-of-way, or in the right-of-way in the shoulder. It's kind of a field decision as they're out there. You know, they're going to go the best route.
Some of the other pipes.
But it all,
they think they.
yeah, it'll all be within the town right-of-way, and then completely restored to its condition.
They don't usually have a problem laying the pipe, it's the asphalt machine that they have the,
Problem with.
when they were resurfacing 3A after
Yeah,
laying the
right,
gas line.
right.
and
Yeah.
Paver,
We had a
the
little
reclaimer
bit of
caught
a
on
little
fire. and
fire.
polluted.
I remember.
Gosh.
A little bit of a fire.
Okay.
And anybody else there?
Anybody in the audience for this project?
I make a motion for -3.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Frank, we have notices too that are behind schedule a little bit too.
A notice.
They're behind schedule a little bit. They're scheduled notices.
And vinyl, lot
I
9, lot
just
1.
didn't know if I lost my mind.
Well, we can work right through that.
Lost
You-
mine lately.
you-
Yeah, it's okay, I was just pointing it out.
Yeah.
Try to catch
Jacob Hatchcondo, trustee Scanzillo, 10 Driftway, Versalock Maintenance, wall maintenance.
Shouldn't have.
So on July 5th, 2017, during the 6:15 meeting at the Town Hall, Situate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Jacob Hatch Condominium Trust, CO Joseph Scanzillo, for determination of applicability, Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Scituate Wetlands bylaws for proposed maintenance work on Versalock retaining wall located at 10 Driftway, Scituate. Others and other interested parties are invited to attend. I thought you were just going to hang around and watch the rest of our meeting.
No, but I've been very encouraged by watching the actions of our Conservation Board tonight, so I think you guys...
Want to join?
In another day, another point of my life, I may do that.
Yes.
Well, I gotta be honest.
No.
Not today, but maybe in the future.
Just for the record, I know you're all...
We do.
I know.
This is sideways, you know.
This is
My name is Paul Maravito from Ross Engineering Company.
Yeah, okay.
I'm representing the owner and applicant, Scanzillo Corp.
There.
I've submitted a site plan for the application. This is the site which is outlined in yellow. The access to the site is off the new driftway distant from the existing roadway on 3A. At the present time, there's a Versalock wall. It's state of disrepair. There's a guardrail that was in there and the cars have pushed it over. Some of the blocks on the top did come loose and the wall is not stable in the upper portion. And the proposal is to remove the guardrail and the upper blocks as is required. Cut the pavement here and put some tiebacks in to hold that wall back so it doesn't fall anymore in the future. All of the work is going to be in the existing paved area. These parking spaces will be used during construction. And it's back turn and the wall repaired, they paved it back, and, but you see that the work was done. So, there's no change in grade, there's no need to go into the, land on the downhill side of the wall. There's a drop here of about, 6 to 7 feet. They don't need to go in this area other than to take some of the blocks out by hand and fall them in.
So it's just a repair?
It's a maintenance project.
Yeah, just repairing what's broken.
So Paul, is it the highline area where the work's being done? Because this, we're seeing Versalock in a few places.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah. That's the spot that you see right now, the big spot.
Actually, Paul, can you show me? Because we might,
I just labeled where the Versalock walls is, but the area in blue here. The RDA is the area I mentioned, we're going between parking spaces A and R. This area.
but Paul, I think we need to correct that because the small yellow spot up above that is the same condition, up a little bit higher. Right there.
Yeah.
Yes, that needs repair as well.
The same procedure.
Same process. I think we can do all of the work actually from the current paved area.
Okay?
No, I don't see any problems at all with it.
Richard?
Same. I don't see any.
Looks good.
Lisa?
Oh, good.
Patrick?
Yeah, I think the only question would be is if there's anything you can use to catch the debris that's fallen off as you are repairing it into the buffer. If there's something that will prevent that from staying there so it can be removed out.
I think the backside of the wall, Paul, yeah, sorry. I think the backside of the wall will retain stuff. What we plan on doing is leaving the wall up,
Oh, okay.
excavating down behind it, then removing some blocks, so there won't be anything that will go over the wall until the grade on the backside of it's below the block that we're gonna remove.
Okay.
So I don't think anything's gonna go back there.
But if it did.
If it did, the only thing there, well, we've got asphalt, we've got a buffer area of dirt, basically gravel, and then you've got the Versalock wall. The only thing that would go down there would be gravel.
Anybody in the audience?
I make a motion for a -3.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
You're in. You're in. That way your organization thing's coming on pretty quick.
You're in trouble. Aye.
Sorry, Frank.
Thank you.
Okay?
All good.
Great.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Have a good one.
Thanks. We have
Now
an
you have me in
in-ramp,
vinyl, right?
and we have the river shed. We have Jericho Road and
You're the boss.
Horsey. They're all gonna happen in some sort of
Okay.
order.
I'm here for the end,
Okay, well,
Wait a minute.
what's, Donley, 140 Jericho Road, this is an asphalt driveway. Is anybody here for that?
Yep, me.
So on July 5th, 2017, during the 6:15 meeting at the Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Joseph and Christine Donnelly for the determination of applicability of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands bylaws to asphalt the driveway from the street to the front stairs, plant a row of trees, seagrass, and beech rows at 140 Jericho Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Good evening.
Hi.
Hi. You were here a couple weeks ago.
Yes, thanks for having me back.
Yep.
And so we did update the design, the last meeting based on recommendations that were made. So can I put this up? Or
Sure.
Pat only
Yep,
have
please
this?
go.
But can I just reinforce a couple of things?
Sure.
So all this doesn't exist, we'll be adding a whole new bed there, and then we're coming out 5 feet from the house with the common planting. There is somewhat of a bed here, but we're going to improve it, and then we're going to add the beach stones around the house, and get some new grass.
Okay.
So, and these are the plantings I want to replicate. The seagrass, the beach roses, the lavender, just to give it, I know last time it was a small, but
Sure.
just to give it more detail. And then all the measurements, I know that were important.
Yep.
So it is smaller than what is there now. So it kind of butts out, so this is 8 by 10, 14 by 4, 25 by 6. And then this kind of butts out more bigger over this way, but there's like a shed right here.
Sure.
So
Okay.
that's better.
Yep, thank you.
And I have some other, if you want to see them.
Sure.
Just,
Photos help.
just photos of like the neighborhood.
Okay.
So the shed is on your property?
Yeah.
No.
And what about the
Oh, I
land to
thought
the
it
right of the
wasn't.
shed?
The right of the shed?
Yeah.
That's our land.
Okay, so this is all your land too?
Yes. Oh, no, that's, wait, oh, no, that's the driveway to the house next to us, but the shed's right on our property.
Okay. Right, so they have a grass driveway.
And then these are just the houses down the road, on the other side that are
Okay.
Christine, that shed, the white shed that's, as you're coming in, yeah, to the right, is that on the abutter's property, or is that yours?
Yes.
Oh, the shed is, oh, okay.
Shed is. Well, it's right on the property line.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But it is you own it.
I don't own the shed.
You don't own the shed, but
Shed,
it's on
but
your
it's on your
property?
property?
Yes.
What is,
Do they pay you rent to have it on your property?
No.
There's a lot of
did you
funny
give them
things going
permission to put the shed on the property?
Is that relevant?
No,
to
because
us?
that's been there
Yeah,
for
because,
such
yeah,
a long
yes, if they
time
could take
that
something out.
You know, Richard, these
never,
mainlanders are
you
pretty
know,
crazy. I know
addressed
it.
it.
All right.
Where does your property,
I have a, I don't know if this helps.
so when you're facing your house with the ocean to the rear, there's a telephone pole on the right. So the landscaping that you're doing on the right-hand side,
Yeah.
is that going as far as the telephone pole, or is it
Yes.
going further right? So you're gonna,
So, yeah, so we'll landscape all of this,
okay.
all of this. Keep this tree here to shape it up. But I don't have that house, if that helps you.
All right. So, any other questions?
No, it's just, you're not supposed to have an asphalt driveway there, that's all. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, Richard?
This was paved at one time?
Yeah, you know, I tried to find the picture today. I found one from, I don't know, I know you and Joe looked at, is this
Yeah.
the one?
Yep, that's one we looked
Yeah.
at, yeah.
It looked like, it's kind of hard to see, but it looks like maybe it was possibly concrete, it's very small, but I dug through the file, that's the only one I could find. But-
Where's, I don't see the concrete. Wow, the house is really different.
Yeah.
There's a porch.
Did you do the renovation?
Yes.
So you put the porch on?
Yeah, and we had it
Same one, I
all
think.
permitted and,
I can't really tell. I agree, it kind of looks, but I...
How wide is this driveway that you want to pave?
the middle is
Can I see that, Lisa?
Okay.
22 by 6, because it narrows a little bit, and this is 25 by 6, top and bottom.
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
The middle's 22 by 6, and then this is 25 by 6. The house kind of torques to this side a little bit. And then 18 inches of each stone, and then 3 feet bed, and then 5 feet here, and then it gets a little bit bigger to 8 feet, and then 5, but then it butts out more. But there's nothing there now, and nothing in front, so we'd be adding all that, which I think is good for the Conservation Commission. But it does, the driveway goes out more. I don't know if anyone was able, you were able to.
Yeah.
But the stone, it's really compacted, crushed shells, actually, but which kind of comes out more, so we're kind of taking away and putting the plantings.
So you're taking where it's natural and then doing formal plantings.
I really, to be honest with you, I didn't go to take a look, so, I mean, there's grass and things.
What are we taking away?
It's just plain and natural on the left.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
it's getting.
No, I was
pointed out.
just confirming that it's just all natural grass and then you're gonna do formal
Yeah.
plantings.
Pat, you were gonna take a look at the folder for that. Did you have a chance to pull the folder on that property? Are there any other restrictions?
Yeah,
or-
with the folder we found had more to do on the ocean side of the house. There was, the riprap got all banged around, so that got put back in place. And there was a planting plan in there for beach grass, so that whole area was planted with beach grass. I hadn't seen any other folder. Carol and I looked, and I think Penny looked too.
That was from
and
2005, yeah,
Yeah.
after the storm.
Yeah.
So that's
whole
the only
area.
info, there wasn't, like, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
no, I
looking
went
at this.
downstairs, there is one more file, but it's ancient, and I couldn't even make heads or tail, I could barely read.
When we did move in, we added more beach grass to the back, so we did all that.
I guess I would have assumed that, I mean, I'm looking at that assessor's
Yeah,
picture, and then I'm looking at a plan with a bunch of porches. I'm assuming that those porches would have had to
File
be
for
permanent,
Right.
but there's nothing in the folder that
No.
allows for the,
I
We-
hired
yeah.
a lawyer to get that permit for that porch.
and you must have come before this
I
commission?
came before here twice
Yeah.
with a lawyer and got a permit, so that it is permitted.
Yeah, so we
Yeah,
look,
I'm not
yeah.
Okay,
questioning
because
that.
you're making me
No, no,
nervous.
what,
Okay.
what we're looking for is a folder
Oh,
that
Can't find.
typically when we have hearings on these properties and we allow certain things to be done, oftentimes, if, let's just say we allow someone to build a deck, or more importantly, like a porch or a patio or some other impervious surface, part of the trade-off might be that they remove some impervious surface. So if a previous commission to us agreed to allow those porches to be built with the stipulation that, say, the driveway get removed. In other words, you had an impervious surface on the property, the existing home and an impervious driveway. Maybe not you, but the person before you. Then they did something to the property and they said, well, for mitigation for that project, we'll remove our paved driveway. That might have been a deal that was made with a prior commission.
okay.
So if that's already been done, then we would not undo that.
Okay.
Is what I'm saying clear?
And we always check those, and in this case, we found one file that had to do with the rocks and the beach grass, but Carol, do you know if there was a number indicating that there may have been something else, even though if we don't have the physical file, there might be a...
Well, if you buy, when did you buy the house? If you put the porch, did you put the porch on?
Yes.
What year, do you know?
I bought the house in 2008. I'm not sure when we put.
So it was a couple of years after that, 2005.
Here,
The house on,
So
See that?
that
That's
porch
what
should
it
be
is.
conditioned.
That's why, yeah, I was shocked when I saw that. And I can't find the file. I mean, I did look.
Well, I'd like to continue this, because I
Okay.
want to see that file,
Yeah.
and I want to know
See
that there
that?
wasn't
This was
something that was
existing.
already done
They built
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah,
before.
there's gotta be a
Okay.
file somewhere.
And there would have been conditions.
If you have that, if you had attorneys do that for you, and you came before the commission to do that, if you could help us and give us a copy of the filings that you submitted, there ought to be one, if it was a notice of intent, then it ought to be recorded at the registry of deeds.
Deeds.
The other thing is the building department would have something, and in there would have been a sign-off from conservation. So in the building department files, you know, a porch like that would have had to go through them.
Right, sometime when you go way back, though, like if it was just some footings, there wasn't
Right, but if this was
But if it was
2008,
2008.
No, this
So it's
isn't just
after
what
that. This
exists,
is
this is.
2000.
Yeah, it was since
2010
Frank and
probably.
I have been on the,
Oh, okay, yeah, no, it would be, yes. No, I'm saying if you go back further, you know, if
and I
you,
don't remember
Right.
it.
you go back
But that
15.
doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
My memory isn't
Right.
that great some days.
Well, I don't think we should rely on that. There should
No.
be information
Yeah, well,
here.
like I said, I know
And if you
I
have,
looked.
if you have that information, that would be helpful as
Yeah.
well.
Be great.
So what do I need to get?
When you filed for that addition,
Mm-hmm.
the paperwork that you submitted to the town, to this commission,
Mm-hmm.
and then the approval that the commission gave you, if you have a copy of that, that would be helpful. We're gonna try to find ours as well.
So I guess the lawyer would have a copy of that?
That would be, they would have it too if you don't.
I don't have
They
it.
should have given you a copy.
Yeah, they should have.
I don't have a copy.
and I could check with building tomorrow,
Okay.
see
Well,
if they
did we
have one.
check the registry? Did you get a certificate of compliance on it?
I don't have any of that.
But whether it was done under an RDA or an NOI could be different in how it's filed as well. There's no recording of an RDA.
Right. But would we do an RDA for a whole new porch?
Depends
We don't
on
know.
other
Yeah.
conditions that were
Okay.
there.
Sometime, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That photo's very, very old. There was a porch on
well, that's what I'm
there.
saying, there's other circumstances that went along with that, and we just need, I want to see a better picture. What we're looking to do, as Penny
Yeah.
points out, is allow someone to put an impervious surface in an area we don't normally do that. And if there's a good,
And if we can, then that's great, but we need something to back it up,
right,
you know? Because then we're in trouble with the
Well,
next person.
we just have
If we
to have
don't have a
consistency.
We have to have
reasoning, we
consistency.
have to have, you know, something to back
is there
up.
anybody in the audience that wants to speak to this?
Frank.
Yes, sir.
So just, I'm just here for my sister here. So if the file, if she gets the file and there's no contingencies, is it approved? Or do
We
you
still have
to-
to, we have to vote it. So we're gonna continue this to our next meeting. We're gonna continue that, we opened this hearing, this RDA this evening. So we're gonna continue it to our next meeting. And in the meantime, get whatever information as soon as possible that we can get, either the information that you have or any other folders that we can find on this, and just take a look and make sure that there wasn't a decision by an earlier commission that limited what went on there, or if there was already a deal struck on, there's a reason for that driveway being removed.
If it was there.
We don't, the thing is, we don't even know if there was one.
Well, you said
What-
there was one.
Well, the picture and a neighbor said in passing,
Okay. So let's find out.
Yeah. Okay,
So we're just gonna continue this hearing to the next, in 2
yeah,
weeks.
I make them, can I
And
make a
then,
motion?
in the meantime, let's try to get the information that we need to be able to make a good decision on this.
And who, I mean, it should be on file for the town, right?
That's correct.
So,
So we're gonna look for that as well, to see if there's a file there also in the building department, if there's any other information. But it might help if you have that decision as well.
I'll reach out to the lawyer, but I don't have anything like that.
Okay. All right, well, let us take a look and see
Yeah.
what other information we can find.
Because
It
we
would be-
didn't realize.
It would be better for
that.
you if we had the information that said that there was impervious surface there before.
Okay, thank you.
All right?
Okay, so I make a motion to continue the IDA on Donnelly 140 Jericho to July 19th.
What time? What doesn't matter.
No time.
Second.
And I apologize, you know, we try to get the information ready, but we had the 4th of July and a bunch of other changes, so
Well,
a limited amount of time to get that information as well.
Yeah.
Okay?
thanks.
Thank you.
we need to vote.
You need to vote, Frank.
It's been
Moved and
seconded.
seconded.
Have a motion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the
All in favor?
motion. Aye.
Thanks.
Plus, we didn't know until today that there was a porch. I thought the porch was already
No,
there, then I
right,
saw
We
this.
didn't, we didn't have
Yeah.
enough
You
information.
know what,
So
we just need to
we'll
get
just
that.
keep digging, yeah.
Yeah.
2008.
Wasalski?
Risky.
Say it again?
Risky.
Risky, sorry. F and G, J and S Trust, on July, sorry about that.
Marshall Ave.
On July 5th, 2017, during the 6:15 meeting, the Town Hall, the Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request Let's just use whatever you said. J&S trustees. Susan, for the determination of applicability of Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands bylaws to raise and rebuild a garage located at 49 Marshall Ave, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Good evening. So for the record, your names are?
John Jordan.
And Fred Wariski.
Thank you. So fire away. What do you?
All right, so what we have is an original shed that was built right on the property line, or a garage, or maybe even a barn. There was animals there. So right now the shed leans maybe like 3 to 5 degrees.
Leaning.
It's leaning.
Hey.
So it was built on grade in around 1925. So it has seen a extended life, and now it is time to come to a close. So we want to raise that structure and then build a new, more modern garage, 1.5 stories in front of that for beach toys and other accessories like that.
So you're right on the corner of Hadley and Marshall?
No, we are right in between both roads. So if you turn to the back, do you guys have a copy? Yeah. So
Yeah.
if you look at the back, the front yard is right on Marshall, and the back of the house is right on Hatherley, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, and then in talking to Pat, there's some sort of a wetland stream or something across Hatherley, 100 and, just over 100 and some feet away.
Yeah. I don't have any problem.
Slightly bigger.
It's slightly bigger, but
slightly.
it's not in any resource area. It's out of the buffer if it's over 100 feet. Both
Well, we don't
buffers.
really have, they don't know where that is.
We were waiting to have the plot plan done until we, wanted to see how
I thought
detailed it
Pat
was going to
said
be
it
done.
was.
Yeah, I think the issue of getting close to the wetland was the vegetation that was going to be removed. The garage is a long way out there.
Okay.
But you're proposing some vegetation
Yeah.
removal. As long as it's on your property, it's not the
Yeah.
town side of the line. There's a lot of invasive stuff choking trees, so I think to improve the vegetation, it's right on Hatherley, the
Well-
backyard.
What I'm saying, he's moving into his property. He's moving away from the property line.
Yes.
Into the property.
Right.
So he's
It's-
getting farther away,
And it's well over 50 feet from,
that's all. So I don't have
But
any problems.
but your question was, there was some vegetation being removed that is on the line. close to it.
it's closer to the, but there's a street in between. Hatherley comes in between, so there's no continuous vegetation. It's really vines that are choking trees, and, I mean, the reason to have the public hearing is that an abutter would have the opportunity to say, wow, there goes all my screening if you take that down. So somebody wanted to come to a meeting and say, could you leave a few trees, or, so. Between that and the other thing being within 100, so.
Are you taking trees down?
No, just the vines and clearing the things out so it looks better. There's the new sidewalk back there, so it's nice to, it looks pretty nasty.
Paul?
No questions.
Lisa?
No questions.
Pat, anything you want to add?
He described the garage well. It does have a lean
Do
to
you
it.
want to add anything in this RDA, any pieces, any erosion, any?
Yeah, I mean, it's all contained within the lawn area. I mean, you want to make sure nothing gets out onto Marshall and down.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
Okay. Anybody in the audience?
I make a motion for a negative grade certificate.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Have a good night.
Okay,
Good luck.
super, thank you.
Very much.
And you can post that, there's a number you can post. You can hang it on your house that
Yep.
you've gone through it. So,
Okay.
okay, you'll get a letter from
Next
Carol.
process with.
Yeah,
Uh,
okay, yep.
90 Lot 1 in Vinyl Road in red, resource delineation.
Oh. This is Lucas Environments. Did you see this? Lucas.
So So this is a continuation.
Yeah, we were
From our guy
waiting
going
for
up.
the wetland line to be confirmed last time.
Who wants to start, Paul or Pat?
At the last meeting, it was decided that the commission would have their consultant walk the line shown on the plan, which was done. There were no changes in the wetland flags. The only thing that I had asked, I spoke to our botanist, Brad Holmes, who spoke to the botanist the commission hired. On the lower portion of that site, there's a small wetland. We show it as a BVW, but it's really isolated. There's a pipe coming in from the parking lot, from the school parking lot where the buses park, and that's what's formed the wetland. So Brad was going to talk to Tom Liddy, and I spoke to Brad today, and they didn't have a problem, identifying that as an isolated wetland as opposed to BVW. I don't know if they spoke to Pat about that at all, or...
If they emailed me, I didn't get to check email late in the day, so there could be something on there.
No, I don't think there were any emails that went back and forth, but
So it's just that small section down
just
there
that
in the
small
corner?
one, yeah.
Yeah,
And we did the abutter cards last time, I think, right?
Yes.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, Tom Liddy walked it, the site's been divided, there's two parcels, and we're really not gonna consider anything beyond the yellow line of the second parcel. And they went out there and they said there could be a couple of vernal pools out there, but the distance wouldn't trigger anything with this. The buffer to the BVW would be enough. If they wanna do something in the future out there, they'd have to come back to us, and we can write that into,
So they looked on the other side, the east side.
yep, northeast, yep. That abuts Mr. Costello's horse farm out
Right.
back there.
And I know it's wet out
Really?
there. Yeah.
This is really nice looking wetland, this one.
Yeah.
There's very little invasive in there, it's really
It
nice.
is, yeah.
So we should probably extend the buffer out to 300 feet.
300 ought to do it.
295 is better.
Yeah.
Isn't that something? It's nice to see something without any invasive.
Yeah, this is really nice.
Brad Holmes did mention that when he and Tom looked at the line, it was offered that and there's places along that line where they could have moved it further east, but Brad said leave it alone, which is fine, because we've based the further work on the calculation using that line, so.
And they did a full DEP data forms with soil analysis, Brad Holmes did,
Good.
so.
Okay.
Could do it right.
Penny?
No, I don't have any problem.
I'm fine.
The
I'm
report.
fine.
Paul?
Looks good.
Happy.
Lisa?
All set?
Anybody in the audience?
I don't think so.
Yeah, we'll just condition it that we're doing this line, we're not talking about anything
Right.
beyond that.
Yeah,
And then-
the other one.
Do we want to recognize that isolated after you get confirmation from Lucas?
Yep, I could do that, yeah.
So I make a motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Marabito.
That's a good one.
You had an easy night. You had a pretty easy night. We usually whack you
On
around.
July 5th, 2017, at 7 PM, the Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40, Massachusetts General Laws, and Section 30700, Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Kara Torndorf, i.e. the river shed, to install a grease trap on property located at 17 New Driftway, Scituate. About is another interested parties about it.
Very much needed.
Oh, yeah.
Good evening.
Yeah.
I'm
We have
surprised they
conditions.
hadn't done it from the beginning.
It's changed hands a couple times.
Has it? Yeah. I haven't even been there.
It's not bad.
Hey, my name is Rob Carlazon. I'm with Grady Consulting. This is the proposed grease trap plan for 17 New Driftway, also known as the Rivershed Restaurant. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with it. There's a restaurant and I believe it's a dance studio out front. The entire building is connected into town sewer currently. The sewer department has asked our applicant to install a grease trap to catch grease before it gets into the sewer system. We're dealing with 3 different resource areas on our site.
You guys want to have this up here, or?
Sure.
Yeah,
Is it better?
yeah, maybe.
Okay.
We're on TV, so sometimes that's the only angle they can get. Excellent.
So, like I said, we have 3 different resource areas. We have a inland bank associated with the first Herringbrook tributary. We have a riverfront area associated with the brook. And the entire site, or just about the entire site, is located within a flood zone. Flood zone elevation is 16. Most of the site is at elevation 14 through 10. We propose the grease trap as far away from the brook as possible. We're actually outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. We are within the 200-foot riverfront zone. And like I said, we're within the flood zone. The building is located in between the grease trap and the brook. The construction of the grease trap, it won't have any impact on the stability of the bank.
Just one thing before you go, do you have a butter cards with you?
I do.
Oh, okay, good.
idea.
Because we shouldn't be, we should hold off on any discussion.
Those kids go to Carol.
Right, yeah, okay, thanks. Thank you.
The grease trap is going out in the back, is the existing parking lot now. Once construction is completed, it will return to a paved parking lot. In terms of the flood zone, that'll have no impact on the flood storage capacity. As grades are going to remain the same. And in terms of the riverfront area, this is almost treated like a septic repair because it's an existing establishment in sewer service.
There's no way that grease can get into the river back there, right?
Correct, yes.
You promised me that.
I promise.
Okay.
It's like a tight tank. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just, it is pretty close.
It is.
Oh, it's on the other side of the building.
Well, kinda.
How much further?
Well, unless the pipe explodes, then there's a problem.
Yeah.
I'm just asking. Well, if you go down the back slope there, Frank, you're right
I
at
worked
the
there
middle.
when I was a kid. I know the
Yeah.
middle.
He's climbed all over everything around here.
You worked at the...
Worked on the rest.
They weren't
No,
there.
it was a paint store.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a paint
I
store.
know it was a paint store. I used to buy my paint there.
So I don't see the similarity.
I know.
And then I brought my kids up on the other side of the thing. so-
No, you know what, Frank?
Paint store,
I'm
restaurant, paint store, restaurant.
Thinking of the medical building, how close they are. I'm sorry, I'm thinking of the wrong building.
No, no, okay.
I'm the
I'm glad you're
wacko.
concerned.
Moving right along, yeah.
I know. Well, I was just,
All right.
never mind.
Richard?
As a person who's gone there a number of times, it's needed.
Yeah.
It's good.
All set.
Pat?
Grease is flowing.
Did you have erosion controls planned up there on the,
Yep, we have a limit of work delineated. We don't show, it's going to be a silt fence. We describe it in the narrative.
okay, is it, where you're going to be digging up for, is it concrete there or is that gravel up there with that
This is asphalt.
asphalt? Yeah, we may want more than a silt fence if, if you start
Tough
doing
to pound
that.
those silt fences
Yeah.
in the asphalt.
Right, plus it starts to rain and,
Yeah.
you get an open hole.
Might be a couple of wattles or something that need
Yeah.
to go there.
The other thing is, on a resource area, it would seem like it's either gonna be bordering land subject to flooding or land subject to coastal storm flowage, because it's all in a flood zone, so. And I don't know how it's viewed there, whether you get storm surge to cover it or whether it's the river flowing over the banks, but either of those should be probably checked off. I mean, you did top of bank, and you did flood zone, but the state has boxes checked off for other resource areas. And those are the only things I can think of. Otherwise, it's an improvement and good to get it done.
Anybody in the audience?
Make a motion to close.
Second?
Yeah, if you could just make those marks on the application. The delineating the right resource area. All right.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you.
I guess.
But there's no restaurant.
Take it easy.
I'm trying to say paint store, I realize my mistake. I'm thinking of the market.
I like to think it was a big one.
Okay.
Richard,
I guess we'll wait.
Take care of this, any sundry things.
Okay, so,
You guys can reorganize, well,
excuse me, sir, are you here for specific reasons?
John's watching, he's an interested citizen.
Not a problem. So, let's see, we have Coastal Advisory Commission. I can tell you there is going to be a regular meeting on the 11th, and then the suggestion is that there be a meeting regarding specifically the north end of Central Avenue in Hummerock. That meeting is either going to be the 27th or the 31st of July. And the idea is there have been some adjustments made in the language of the, what's the word I'm looking for?
Oh, the easement?
Easements. And hopefully to make a last attempt to get the residents to fully understand it. And that's probably going to be the 27th, but it will be announced soon, probably next week.
Were you at that meeting, Richard, when they were talking about the easements?
Yes.
The languages?
Yes.
That was just the other day?
Just Monday,
Oh,
right
okay.
here. And Frank and Nancy Durfee and I were here, and Kevin was here as well.
Oh, good. And it's a change to the language
It's
then?
not changed yet. Oh, and Maura was here too, and she's taking the changes to the board at their next meeting.
Oh, wow.
So
Those
we'll see what
easements are
happens.
very important.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
Very important.
So that's on the Coastal Commission. Any beach committee update? No. Okay. Frank's going to have to speak to the Green Connection, I would think. And,
I don't know what that's about.
well, he can,
Yeah.
he's back. He can speak to the Green Connection.
What's
'Cause we-
happening there? You don't know. Do you know the Green
Oh,
Connection?
the Green Connection.
What's going on?
That's us.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, this was Stockbridge Landing, had been permitted for a big 40B project at one point.
Yeah.
And it went under, and then someone else took it over, and it's been for sale. In the meantime, they leased out an area of it to the Green Connection, who's located right next door.
Really?
They brought in a lot of material into the buffer and right up against the wetland, and it was supposed to be removed, and nothing happened, so on the 1st, I think, they were gonna have it out of there. And I got the name of the property owner to get a letter to, and then the Green Connection is leasing it, so they should be getting a letter too, not just the property owner, which was Pierre Cole, goes back away in this one. So we want all that stuff out of there. They're supposed to have gone to zoning, to change of use for the property, to have a grinding operation going on there. I don't believe they've got that done either.
That's been going on for a long time. I think before you came, we
Yeah.
tried to get them to clean up, because we went down there and
Right.
it was...
And this is a different property. This is to the
spilled over
left.
onto the property next.
Another whole
Yeah.
lot. You know,
It's gone.
you know the house is, the
Yeah.
brown house, it's down in there now, so.
There's a driveway that goes in to that Stockbridge Road
Yes.
thing, and there was like an old colonial house in there.
Right.
And now there's material on that side of the property line as well.
kidding.
A lot, as big as this room, a pile of stuff, so.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
so we
see,
need
I
to stay
haven't been
after
in there
that.
for a long time.
Have you spoken to the,
Yeah, I met with the Green Connection guy, I haven't spoken to the owner. I got two names. One guy was in France.
Because he's just renting, right?
Yeah, yeah. And he's in the process of going back to the other location. And you know, once more stuff is moved out, he's gonna stay up top. But in the meantime, he used this, but would have been nice to have known this ahead of time.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, the letters, now that my schedule's a little bit less, it's hard to keep up. Lisa had a couple today that were down on Humrock that need letters. We have one from a past customer, a fairly big violation that needs a letter, fruit related. So there's a lot of...
Flyer miles?
Yes. So there's a lot of stuff going on that I'm gonna try to lock the door and hide in Carol's office and get done.
What's up with the Sunoco station?
Sunoco Station, the guy just returned from Florida, so I've called him a couple times, he's called me a couple times to find out what that cutting is in the back. If you look at the Sunoco
Yeah.
Station back left, so he's tried to reach me, and I've tried to reach him, and we haven't met yet, so. But as soon as he get in town, he called, so we'll sit down and meet. Do you guys remember what it
Yeah.
used to look like? or-
I do know to some degree,
Yes, yes.
that's wooded. Over the years, there's been a lot of fill put in there.
Yeah.
I also know that there was hearings on that, and there should be a folder, because there was a drain pipe that came out of Manlot Road and went under the back of that Sunoco station. And I think that the owner that's there now had contested that pipe had created part of that wetland in the back there, and that there was some discussion. I wasn't on the commission, I just know that this has gone on for a long time. I believe that the owner that's there was a commission member at one time.
Was it a Sunoco station back then?
It's been different stations.
But it's gas station.
It's been a gas station.
Okay.
It was actually an old station that was on Manlot Road, and then when they built 3A, they were able to stay on 3A, and then that got rebuilt in probably the early 70s. A more modern station was built.
Yeah.
And, but then, over the years, there's been fill placed around there that's expanded, and I just somehow remember.
Okay, so there is an old file somewhere then.
So that there should be a.
There definitely is, and that fence has been up for a long time.
Yeah.
And I never could figure out why that fence went up.
But the issue that we're talking about is on the other side, right? The other side of the property?
I thought it was on the backside.
The backside.
If you face the station.
From 3A.
Yeah.
From 3A,
Yeah,
it would be to the left.
Okay. Right.
Well, I was thinking
Well,
wrong.
there's a fence over there.
Well, that's on the right, that's against Min Lot. Oh, no, there's another fence, you're right, there was a yard there, but there's material that's been placed.
Exactly, but I never quite understood why that fence was at the back of the lot.
Well, I think they used to keep cars, like impoundment there, if
Yeah,
something was
that could
towed or
be,
whatever,
Yeah.
used to be stuff stored out back.
We get calls because of, it looked like a lot of trees came down, and it's been pushed back further, so.
Yeah.
Could be.
So
I do think we should look at the folder and then figure out, if there may be a plan in there that showed where the filling was before, or if it was supposed to stop, or if it was allowed to continue, or.
Okay. All right, then there's another related, we don't have it on the agenda, so I won't use address or names, but there's a fence along the beach. There's been several emails about maybe blocking public access, and for us, the issue was we permitted one thing, and this was not part of our permit, so they have to
So you
file.
can't it still isn't down?
Still not down, no, there's a lot of debate and talk going on.
Debating the issue, yeah.
But it's not on the agenda, so we gotta.
They don't like.
We can't talk about particular address. I will follow up tomorrow with everybody and with them on an email.
Pat, is there a way, and obviously we have jurisdiction in the area, people putting up things in a resource area comes under our purview, and we can tell people to fine them, enforcement order, fine them, whatever.
Right.
At some point, some of these things become more of a neighborhood dispute, or a neighbor's dispute. And, we certainly want to do our part, but I don't think there's anybody here on this commission, join the commission to be involved in
To referee.
Do a lot of it, though.
Yeah.
Right, but when you say, well, it's a neighborhood dispute, like Toll Brothers is a neighborhood dispute, but you don't go, oh, well, forget that.
No, if there's resource areas and the work that's being done in them, we need to address it. And we can find it. I just want to make sure that we don't wind up going off.
Yeah, no.
And just like dealing with Toll Brothers with some of the issues that are on there, we want to deal with the part that is our purview.
Right.
And not things that are not part of our.
Right.
So I have a question. If a developer puts together a plan, and there's supposed to be a 20-foot wide road, accessible to all the neighbors to be able to access the beach. And then a neighbor decides to put in a fence on each side that narrows it down when it's supposed to be this big wide area.
Right.
Whose purview is this?
I just wonder where it crosses from being, we can issue an enforcement order. We can tell them that they're wrong.
Because
But-
it was never
But
permitted.
here's the deal, though, everyone's focusing on the neighbors, take the neighbors out of it. When people start building stuff on dunes, on a barrier
Right.
beach,
Then-
you say you can't do that.
Right.
Whether the neighbors have an access issue or not.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Let's just keep the point to
Right.
Right,
Right.
what the violation
They
is.
erected,
right.
they didn't have permission.
Right.
Right.
And they
Right.
won't take it down.
Yeah, that was my email last week, but there's been several responses back that today I just read, I didn't respond to, but I have a nice photo that, I'm gonna cover this for now, but I will do that tomorrow. I'll email everybody.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Well, thank you, guys.
Yeah, and we know that you're officially retired, but we also know that you're willing to keep this up until the new folk gets on board.
Do you know when they're coming?
17th.
17th.
And we
You're
appreciate it.
reinventing 10 hours.
Yeah, right.
Because you're done.
It's like he's already been working 64, so.
So his retirement's gonna be only 50.
30.
But we know that you'll be so well appreciated in the higher levels of the administration here that you'll
Yes.
probably be amply compensated.
You could get a
The
plaque.
glory is worth it. That was a nice send-off, though, so that was good, you know.
Only because you agreed to stick around.
It's probably true. Yeah.
If all we could see was your tailpipe, you probably wouldn't.
I was driving in today and thinking, what am I doing? And then Carol said, what are you doing?
What am I doing?
Yeah.
Such a great group, wouldn't it be?
Yeah.
You miss us,
All right.
that's why.
What
you're
else-
so-
Sites like
what else do
this,
we have?
Orders of
Well, we
conditions.
have the orders, but Pat has to explain them. There's changes. They didn't actually go, I know, I'm sorry.
Which, the orders, we have the conditions, but you may not see a typed copy in front of you. I gave them to Carol too late today to get them totally filed, but we could discuss them and you could say whether it makes sense or not. Maple Street, they were able to move it outside the 200. They were within 10 feet, so they swung it out, so that's out of it. So we just gave them a standard order,
Okay.
be careful, so that one. The
So
next,
should I make a motion to accept those orders?
yeah, if I
Okay,
mean, that's all we did with that
I
one,
make a motion on
yeah.
Maple Street that we accept the orders as written.
Okay.
With the changes. With that,
No.
Yeah, there was a revised
Just
plan,
dates.
that would be the only thing, and it moved it out of our jurisdiction, so.
okay.
Okay.
Okay. So we, second?
Lisa seconded.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next two lots, they're separate filings, but it's very similar issues, and we asked that there be a no-mow area on top of the vegetation that's there now. And it looked like it was 30 feet, and I think they were saying 30 feet from the edge of the water in. So it's like
squash
10
it, right?
feet, yeah, it's like 10 or 15 feet with his natural growth. And
Yeah,
then
there's
we're
one of
gonna
them that's
ask,
like a little island in an open
Yeah.
area. We told the engineer where we wanted
right,
those to be.
right. Was that, who was the engineer? Cavanaro, I think. it
Yes,
was.
Mark. Yeah.
Right. So there were a couple other conditions on that one. Roof drainage, even in a flood zone, they said they were gonna do roof drainage.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if that makes sense from an engineering point of view, that's fine. Shell driveway
Yeah.
out by the street. Elevation a foot above or 2 feet above. And I think
Pat,
that was
is
it.
there a time limit on actually issuing these? Do these have to be out? Do you want the time to write these till the next meeting?
No, we wrote them, we have
She
them.
just
We're just
didn't get 'em
explaining
out.
them to you. They just weren't typed. They're handwritten though, but it was late today.
Okay.
Carol
So-
just couldn't.
All
Yeah.
right.
So, but there's no surprise. It's all
Okay.
things that we talked about and, we're in agreement.
So I'll make a motion, we accept the orders as written on 72 Surfside Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I make a motion that we accept
I'm
the...
not gonna vote. I'm gonna abstain from voting on that.
Okay.
Okay.
On 70 Surfside Road, as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And again,
You abstain. Okay. Okay, Rebecca Road.
Rebecca Road, there was, yeah, we had asked them, what was Rebecca Road? There was one thing, oh, they didn't have the flood zones identified on the plot plan. So we asked them to show V zone, A zone.
Did they
So
do
they
it?
revised the plan.
You're asking them to get that to you?
No, they got it to us.
Okay.
The only thing missing, they didn't have contour lines on the plot plan, but they gave us an elevation certificate. So I mean, we could condition it that when they do the as-built, they also put the contour lines on there, so. They have to get all that information to building anyway to be correctly above the flood zone, so.
Okay.
So that would have been the
Make a
condition there.
motion to accept the orders for 77 Rebecca Road as written.
second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And Gilson Road,
This was just the,
late today, I tracked down the minutes from Joan, who did the minutes for us last time. And at the very end, there was a lot of discussion with Jeff Hassett about a buffer
Right.
and conservation posts. And,
he said.
you know what,
they
we
could do
have
it.
those.
Yeah, he
Carol, do you
definitely
have those
committed to it.
handwritten somewhere? Are they there?
Grudgingly committed to it, but,
Because
But he did commit.
But he
Yeah.
committed to it.
Yeah, this is the one that I want to make sure we had.
In
Or
the
the other
dot
one we
plan.
had was-
So we have that on file. That's something.
Did you get to the root of that problem?
What's that?
Root of that thing?
Oh, Gilson.
Yeah.
That's the one that was already signed last time, isn't it? Well,
what,
yeah.
what else do we have this evening?
Actually, I'll just give you a real quick update. Last Friday, the dam was breached at Hunter's Pond. There's no longer a Hunter's Pond.
You there?
Yes, I was. Got there at 7:30. Dan and I were the only two there. We had to wait for all the
They had
state
to
people
dig
to
for
show
2
up.
hours to breach the thing.
It was the most fascinating thing I watched. It
Really?
was really fascinating.
Oh, well.
Once
Well, then
they
they may as well resign
made
another
the
one.
initial cut,
Just explain what that is.
and to watch everything draining off. And we thought originally that you'd have Bond Brook coming from underneath where the T station is, where the parking lot is. And when you got to where the pond was, that it would break off into two tributaries and go around all the vegetation in the middle, and then come back in, and then you have the spillway where the dam is gone, the water would just go down into the Gulf. We ended up with only one, and it
Really?
wasn't even on the Country Way side, it's on the Mordecai Lincoln side, which we're assuming was the original, because that's where the mill was.
Okay.
So now it comes right to the mill, and then it takes a left and runs along Mordecai Lincoln, and then goes out into the Gulf. So it's gonna be a huge area of vegetation, wildlife habitat. And the fascinating thing too was that all the greenery that's growing there, the vegetation, that will all die within the next 2 to 3 weeks, because it's a water-based vegetation and there's no more water there. And so it will be fascinating. Eric and them were saying that within a year, you're gonna be shocked, because it'll be a totally different type of vegetation, that whole area. But it was neat, because I went back the next day and it had even gone down more. But when you looked back up, if you're at the mill and looked up towards North Scituate Village, it was very, very picturesque, because you have a nice wide brook coming down, and you could see all the birds, the ducks, and there was all kinds of critters upstream. And so I'm just anxious to see.
Will there be a second channel in a different time of
No.
year when you get more
No,
flow?
no. The
Wow.
channel is that second channel's gone, it's not enough.
Even during flooding or something, you don't think there'll be?
They don't think so.
Oh.
They don't think so.
Time will tell.
Because actually, where we're putting a slip line through underneath the mill, and that's for emergency flooding, if there is a heavy storm or something. Right now, from the edge, where the water would overflow there if you took the boards away, it's like 20 to 30 feet away is the actual brook now. It moved way over, because I was saying to Dan, do we even need to do that? And he says, well, yeah, because it is just for emergency.
He didn't say it that quickly.
Huh?
He didn't say it that quickly.
Well.
Did I hear a motion to close?
No, we're not, didn't close yet.
But anyways, it was
Dan, that just
really
explained
neat.
that pipe tonight?
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so this is 12 Gilson, that's the last one we have conditioned, but these were your comments that Joan took for minutes that Jeff Hassett, we believe, agreed to.
Right, we need construction
Hey, thanks
posts
for
and
following up
planting.
on that.
Yeah,
It's really
no,
awesome.
well, it
Thank you.
it is
I have
fascinating.
notes here,
Cool
need
watching
construction
that time,
posts and
too, yeah.
planting.
Conservation posts, yep.
Yeah, oh, did I say construction?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Conservation posts and planting.
Close.
Well, that's a C word.
No, he definitely
So
said.
it looked like the 14-foot contour line was what we were, there's an H missing on a lot of those.
Yes. That's what
Yeah.
I remember.
Yep.
Okay.
So I'll just write that up as the 14-foot and conservation posts and,
Yeah.
Yep, that's right.
You should give us a plan with those,
Yeah.
showing that.
yeah.
Alrighty.
All right?
Steal
So we
that
got,
back from
are we
me.
doing a motion for that? Or do you want to wait?
We already did.
We did Gilson?
We already did do the motion.
For
He's
Gilson?
just, yeah,
Okay.
he's just showing you.
Yeah.
Right, Carol, we did the motion.
Yeah,
It's all signed, I don't know,
so.
you know.
Yeah, it's all signed.
Okay. Anything else?
Well, wait a minute.
Yeah, wait a
No,
minute.
we didn't vote Gilson.
We discussed
We
it.
did cause.
Yeah, yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah.
The motion to,
Well,
Carol
then I gotta
said
get
we've
you
already
to
signed the-
sign then, because you already signed it, I don't know why.
Last week,
oh, all right.
last time.
Okay, well, sorry,
Excuse
Rich, I'm gonna take care of it.
That's all right. I would too, definitely.
I wasn't here though.
All right,
We need to,
That's why nothing was
we're
right.
gonna reorganize and.
Well, does it say in the minutes that you voted on it? Anywhere? Oh, she probably didn't give you the end.
why don't we just vote it again?
Yeah, just vote it
Can I get
again.
a-
I make a motion to accept the orders
Motion-
as written for Gilson Road.
Motion to continue, seconded, and all in favor.
So now we got a motion to continue. Now you need a motion to,
Yeah.
Let's just vote, what
Yeah.
difference does it make if we
Yeah.
voted a second?
We
I
just,
don't care, I'll just get you another
Let's do
signature
it.
page.
So we need a motion
And
to
if we got one this
close.
time, we're done.
Yep.
I make a motion to close.
If we haven't already
Gilson
closed.
Road.
second?
All in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion to accept the orders as written. Second.
All in favor?
Aye. So you double
Outta here.
closed. Motion to,
No, wait,
No, she's got another thing here.
I
Reorganization.
make a motion to nominate Frank Snow to do another year of chair.
I think that will, what the,
I just made a motion, excuse me.
I make a motion for him to do it for 3.
That's what I would have said too.
He's only on.
we got a memo from
Yes, you did.
Lorraine to reorganize and to make sure with our members and make sure everybody was in order. And
So
then we
I'm
also
doing
need,
it.
but the whole idea is that people have the opportunity to move around on the boards and get that experience.
Okay,
So
we don't want to, so we vote for you.
I appreciate your vote of confidence.
I second.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Done.
Done.
Thank you.
It doesn't matter.
Sandwich, like an Oreo cookie.
Okay, what else?
Wait a minute, we have a question here.
Before you guys make a motion to adjourn, we met before about open space and paths and so on. You mentioned that you're going to go out and take a look at them for ADA compliance.
Right.
Has anything surfaced yet?
So this is
What-
John
it was-
McLaughlin, who's
I'm
chairman.
sorry, John McLaughlin.
He's the chairman of
Person,
it.
Commissioner Spillies.
So, John, we haven't, we're still working on the plan. Our engineer got grabbed from underneath us, and he's working on the softball field right now. It's Paul Scott, and he's the retired town engineer, and he was doing the work on that, and then they asked him if he'd oversee the softball field. So, unlike Pat, Paul says, I'm only gonna work so many hours a week. So as soon as he's done with that, we're gonna go back to that, and then we'll go out there. And
We're
we'll,
trying to get grants and so on for different projects. Do you have anything perceived you might need, a special bridge or anything?
Okay.
Because,
Well, let's-
July 15th, I'm gonna go to ADA board trying to get, like a lift for one of the docks and so on.
wow,
And before, I really mentioned that you might want to have access to a boat to go out somewhere, and someone could be disabled, but now you can get in the boat.
right.
Things like
Okay.
that, to incorporate all other communities.
Just so you made me think of something, so I was having a conversation with Maura Curran,
Yeah.
and she asked about the possibility of revisiting our Driftway Park. So many people use it and try to, do some renew some of the things at the Driftway Park. It's used by a lot of people. One of the things that is at that Driftway Park is that pier, which is in need of
Yeah, I know.
repair
Yeah.
and work. So, Carol, I didn't get a chance to send you an email, but maybe between you and Penny, if you guys have a chance to find that Horsley Witten report on the Driftway. Sorry.
In your spare time.
Oh, yeah.
John,
You're the most fun board ever.
quite a few years ago, we had a study done of the Driftway Park, which included all kinds of different things that would happen at the park. I mean, it went as far as an amphitheater and a bunch of different
Where did you go? 5
seating.
hours and get settled down.
But then we, pull back in. So there was talk about how boat access and that sort of thing could happen there. So we have a study and a report from that group. It's probably got to be 10 years old or better now, wouldn't you think, Penny?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
The way I look at it, Frank, it's like cell phones. The technology's changed so much, and so does the rules and regulations get more
Right.
advanced and so on. In regards to your example right there, most people aren't aware that Mass DOT is in charge of the piers and docks and how you get in, how you get out anyway.
Yeah.
By helicopter, by boat, by car, bus, by whatever. So this would fall in that realm.
So if what I want to find is what our old stuff had, what they were recommending, and then how can we make it better or whatever. So we could take that up as part of with that as well. Yep, all right?
The Horsley Witten report's around somewhere, too.
Yeah, no, I know it is.
10 years old, right?
Yeah.
It's probably close to that, but I think if we start with something that we have, and then see if we can elaborate or build on that, would be a good thing. That'd be awesome, thank you.
If any of your members are going on trails and paths, I'd like to go with you and see, get familiar with them. And
I have a hard time getting any of them out there.
Follow Howard around.
Want to go hiking on trails,
We'll get
I'll
out
go
there
with
with
you.
Howard and, all right. No, we will, thank you.
I've got new tick
Nobody
spray
wants to go out
try
there until it gets cold again, because nobody wants to get bit by ticks. I was explaining to a neighbor at Indian Trail, he could go out there, and he goes, I'm not going out there till it's cold.
Oh, even when it's cold, though, they're out there.
Can get ticks. Yeah, but it's a lot less likely.
Yeah.
Snow's even better. Couple
Yeah,
feet of
snow's
snow.
good. Yeah.
You said it was too cold in the snow. I wanted to go in the
I know,
snow.
I know.
I'd rather go in the cold.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Then, thank you. That's
Yep,
it.
appreciate it. Thank you very much. You got everything?
8:30, that's not too bad for
All right.
us.
Motion to close?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.